Hey y'all, Eli here for another video. If you haven't heard, Mario's dead. It's a meme going around because on the 31st of March, which is today when I'm posting the video, Super Mario Bros. 35 and Super Mario 3D All-Stars are going to be coming off the eShop. It's also going to be taken off store shelves, and for good measure, so is the new Fire Emblem re-release that they put out last year in honor of the anniversaries of both franchises. And so a lot of people are wondering, why is Nintendo doing this? You know, it's a $60 game. Why wouldn't you just leave it on shelves and let people keep buying it? Isn't that just free money? Why would you take it off now? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And honestly, just like everything, it's purely a business decision. Nintendo wouldn't make a choice like this unless they knew they could make money in the long run, or in this case, the short run, and pad their profit margin. So this isn't the first time a company's done something like this. You know, a lot of people remember the Disney Vault, where Disney would bring out one of their classic movies and put it on a format like VCR and release it for just a little while at a time, maybe 6 months. And then it would pull it off store shelves and say, okay, you're not going to get it again for X number of years before you take it out of the vault again and release it. And this, of course, creates some sort of artificial scarcity in a way, where people go out and they want to get the game, or in that case, a movie, before it's taken off store shelves and they're out of and unable to. Now, some of you might ask, like, does this actually get people to go and buy out games? I'm not so sure that you're actually losing out on sales, and it probably actually compresses the number of sales into a shorter time. Vice actually ran an article on this last year where they talked to a developer that works with Nintendo and said, quote, "They have data that shows that re-releases of games tend to wither on wish lists. The manufactured FOMO, the fear of missing out, helps them get those sales, or so they think." And so it's the idea that re-releases specifically, people are willing to wait on. They might already have a previous version of the game. It's not the hot topic like if, the new Mario or Zelda game comes out when everyone wants to talk about it and wants to play it. And the big thing is that the longer a game is out, although Nintendo doesn't do this as much, it's bound to get into the discount bin at some point, and you're making less on each copy sold, so you might as well just sell it for full price earlier. And you got to think about how much money is actually at stake here. Just think about the fact that, like, Nintendo, say, on average, makes $45 to $50 per copy of Super Mario 3D All-Stars that sells. The retail versions make a little bit less because they've got to give a cut to the retailer. It costs actually money to make the physical product. But the digital version, of course, all the money goes into their pocket. And so if you assume that Nintendo makes, for example, $45 per copy on average, and as we know, the game actually sold 8.2 million as of December, and so by the time it gets pulled off store shelves in March, it's definitely going to be above 10 million in sales, maybe more. So even if we count 10 million in sales times $45 per copy, that's $450 million in revenue. That's just wild. And given that the games have already been created, all you needed to port them, it's very low cost. It's pretty much free money. It's really not the case that they're probably losing on a lot of money. And another vantage point we can look at is how much these games sell when they're not constrained, we can look at a game like the original Super Mario 64, which sold several million units on the N64, but when it was resold on the DS sold the console itself 155 million units, okay? Compared to that Switch, it's almost double. The Switch is around 80 million units. So when Super Mario 64 was re-released on the DS, it sold 11 million units in total. That's about where we're going to be at with Super Mario 3D All-Stars. So on a platform that had almost double the units out, double the installed base, a re-release of 64 sold roughly as many units as this 3D All-Stars game is going to sell on a Switch. So they're probably tapped out on their full potential anyway. Another thing is that if you assume that Nintendo is going to do this more frequently, like, for example, we've got a Zelda anniversary coming up and they put out a Zelda collection, then it could be the case that they're just trying to get you to buy both. I mean, imagine you get one, the Zelda collection comes out, and the Super Mario 3D collection is still out. You might only choose to buy one. You have $60, you'll be like, I'll just get one. But in this case, by time limiting them, they ensure that you're going to buy both. You're not going to cut out one in favor of the other. And we know that other re-releases, also do cap out. There's a certain amount they're going to sell. If you look at Super Mario Sunshine, that sold 5 million on the original GameCube, so this re-release on the Switch is going to almost double the sales of the original. It's kind of wild. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze sold 2 million on the Wii U. When it re-released on Switch, it sold 2.6 million units. So there's only a certain amount that these games can sell, and at 10 million, 12 million units, whatever 3D All-Stars lands at, you're going to be hitting the cap there pretty close. And broadly, Nintendo has done artificial scarcity in the past. Now, they would deny this, and I think other people would question if this is actually the case, but when you've got Wii, when you've got Amiibo, when you've got the NES and SNES classics consistently selling out to such extent to where there's a huge resale market on eBay, there's definitely the case that Nintendo is not meeting demand in almost every product that they consistently release. So it's much better, I guess, in their head that they're going to say, we're going to put out this time-limited product and have a lot of it, and if you want it, you're definitely going to be able to buy it, rather than creating a product with actual scarcity that will be out for a while. You know, I'm sure they would prefer to have a little more certainty in putting out product, making sure it sells, and then being done. So for those reasons, the scarcity, the extra sales, the fact that 3D All-Stars is actually going to make them loads of money, there's actually some pretty good business incentives to do a time-limited release, especially if this is a strategy that they're going to end up chasing in future years. So finishing with that, I'd love to know, number one, did you buy Super Mario 3D All-Stars? What do you think of the strategy? I'd also be curious to know how many times you've rebought the original Mario game, because almost certainly this is something they also do with 3D All-Stars, the original, and then the re-release of 3D All-Stars, and now Super Mario 3D World, or 3D All-Stars. They've got games that they're re-releasing a lot of times, and we just keep buying them, and they know it. They know we're suckers. So it doesn't really make much sense for them not to time limit it. So with all that being said, love to hear your thoughts. Please subscribe and like if you like the video, and have a good afternoon.